Welcome back to Pop Kannon. This is episode 44. My name is Jordan.
I'm Robert.
My name's Paul.
Thank you for clicking play on whatever platform you are watching and or listening to this on.
Ooh.
Because if you didn't know, we are available via video. And if you didn't know, we are available via audio. So yeah, thank you once again for joining us. Today, gentlemen, what are we talking about?
Well, I was going to say I'm really happy that some people decided to click play because today we're talking about Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Edition.
That's right. BVS.
Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition Blu-ray DVD combo.
Well, it's just V. There's just a V in it. It's just Batman v Superman.
Right, because it's a legal proceeding.
Correct. Superman is standing trial.
Superman has a lawyer. Batman has a lawyer.
And how about a halfway through at the climax, they both fire their lawyers and decide to represent themselves. Up the drama for the ending.
So I guess let's go around. We'll get initial thoughts, and since this was Joe's first time seeing the Ultimate Edition, I want to get his thoughts first. So.
Mm-hmm. Refusing to follow up on the leads.
Cool.
That's a fair assessment. Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally I would agree with what Joe said in terms of there's a lot of setting other things up. I can understand why the desert scenes make people go, what the fuck? And what was the other thing? Setting up the Justice League. Like, I honestly, that scene in particular, when Wonder Woman is like looking through all the footage, that did kind of feel forced to me. But I guess, like, you know, I think it's like so awesome to see the characters that I like let it slide. But I'm not, you know, I can admit that was definitely like a kind of a forced scene. It didn't really have anything to do with anything in the plot of the film. And the same with the Flash scene where he appears through a portal and all that sort of thing. Even though, again, I think that's like a badass scene. It doesn't really have anything to do with the movie. That being said, though, I think that's the sort of thing that you see very, very often in comic books. And people very often will shit on this movie, but also try and talk about other movies and say, "Oh, this is the best, comic book representation on film." And it's like, well, if that's what you're judging things by, then Batman v Superman is actually way better than people say it is, because it's like lifting comic book pages like straight out of the book. It's insane. Like, and I know, with a comic book you have one issue and it's very brief.
There's a version of Lex that exists in the comics where he has long red hair prior to becoming the bald Lex Luthor that we know. So yeah. So that's Zack Snyder just deep diving on a character and pulling a version of him that he thinks would work with this grounded kind of people from space and magic and shit like world that they're in. Like, there's basically a panel of that in every Batman comic ever. There's always a page dedicated to it.
Yeah, and like Joe said, it was the opening credits of the film, and it's not like we had to sit and watch an entire scene play out. There was no dialogue, because you didn't need it.
No.
You got the trauma, and this Batman is geared entirely in trauma and because of trauma. Like,
and it was also a setup for the constant reference to parents in this movie from very early, like right at that point. Thomas Wayne, on his dying breath, mutters, "Martha." So I mean, it's not so when you get to the end of the film and people are surprised that Bruce takes his foot off of his neck after he says it, they're kind of daisy chaining you information that that's probably something that's going to happen the entire fucking movie. Initial thoughts coming out of like the theater when I saw the free preview that I went to, it was the most conflicted I've ever felt leaving a theater. Because at first, there's just so much that happens in the theatrical cut that, like, the Ultimate Edition fills in blanks for. So, when I saw the Ultimate Edition the first time, I told everybody, I was like, they took a minute off of every scene in this movie, and all of that was the connective tissue getting people in places in order. So removing those things completely made it disjointed and weird, and you don't understand why that lady from Africa, there's none of she's just there, and then nothing happens with it. In the Ultimate Edition, that's a way more fleshed out story, and that helps Superman's opinion of Batman as puppeteered by Lex. And then the same thing was happening on the other end with the guy in the wheelchair on Lex versus Bruce, who Bruce we watch in a sister accompanying scene from the end of Man of Steel is literally there in Metropolis trying to save people at Wayne Financial, which for me, opening the film with that was such a fucking awesome that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, is watching Bruce Wayne drive towards their 911 and everybody else fleeing the opposite direction. And Ben Affleck looked fucking awesome as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I carried away from this movie is we got our first taste of Ben Affleck as Batman. And Batman's my favorite character. He's my favorite hero. And seeing
I'm wearing
his
Batman
portrayal,
socks right now.
What's up?
I said I'm wearing Batman socks right now.
I mean, I'm in a Flash shirt, but seeing Ben Affleck's portrayal of Bruce Wayne and Batman in this movie, I thought was a really great balance between the two.
Yeah.
He looked the part. He's probably the most physically capable looking Batman that we've gotten on screen in forever.
Mm-hmm.
And he, like you said, he plays the Bruce Wayne part perfectly.
There's such a, even in the quiet scenes when he's like alone as Bruce, you feel the cold. You feel the brooding. There's like there's that one shot that's like a still that everybody pulled from it where he's just kind of like looking towards something, but his face is just like there's such a drawn quality to his temperament and all of that. So like when you get into the house where those two cops are investigating, like, what was it, like a child slavery ring or something like that?
Yeah.
And the kid doesn't want to come out of the cage because it's here. And then the cop has to go upstairs to try to clear him, and he's just in the corner. Like, every time I see that scene, like, I've looked that up on YouTube just to watch that clip. Just because it's like, it gets me so like, oh, fuck, that's it. That's it. That's exactly it. Mm-hmm.
And this being the follow-up to that.
Yeah. It's the first time we've seen Batman since Rises.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gliding down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like 6'4". He was like 6'4", 260 for this.
Yeah, and
so
and
that's
that
terrifying.
scene specifically, I liked a lot because it wasn't from his point of view.
Yeah,
We're seeing
it was
it
other
from
people looking
that
for him.
cop's point of view, and the camera's really tight, and they shot it like it was like a horror movie almost, and I loved that.
And that was disconnected from the scene that was previous to it, and it didn't connect to the thing that came after it. And it, to Paul's point earlier, was like flipping pages, and now you're in Gotham, and you go through that scene, and then you flip, and then you're back in fucking Metropolis. Just like panels and pages in a book. But I was super conflicted when I first saw it, and the Ultimate Edition for me just answered any questions that I had about why people were doing things, and like was kind of confused at the end of the theatrical cut as to how Lex Luthor was able to do how did he know anything? And then in this, you get so much more information. And then coming out of Man of Steel that we talked about in the last episode, the kryptonite came off of the World Ender, or the whatever that engine machine was called, and like all of that pieced together. And then like I loved the fact that in this Bruce knew about it, and then after the Senate hearing where there's the explosion where all those people die and Superman just leaves because he couldn't see through the guy in the wheelchair because it was lead, which is something that you don't find out in the theatrical cut at all.
Yeah.
They just leave you hanging as to how Superman didn't catch that. But then they double that up when Batman and Superman fight, because Batman fires those lead smoke bombs at him, so he can't see through it. Like, there's a lot of layering of information in this, especially in the theatrical cut, that's difficult probably to follow for 3 straight hours. But, like, I don't think anybody gave it an honest shot after the theatrical cut was hatcheted by the studio.
So what are your thoughts on a studio, or just even anyone in charge of films in general, cutting down a version of a film because they think it's going to be too long, and thus hacking out information? Do you guys, like, what are your thoughts on that, as far as, like, would you rather sit through a 3-hour movie with all that information, or would you rather just, oh no, give me all of the same information in 2.5 hours?
I mean, taking a minute or 30 seconds off of every scene in this movie is insane to me. You know, like, I get cutting out Lois Lane going to that guy's apartment and seeing how, like, weirdly radicalized he had become or whatever by all the stuff that Lex was telling him. I get possibly cutting that out, maybe cutting out that entire storyline, really. Because you don't really need to know why Batman doesn't like an alien. You know what I mean? You could kind of just play that for what it was. But the way that they took information from this left a lot of people confused when they got to their ultimate confrontation. And when you call your fucking movie Batman versus Superman, like, you shouldn't... That's the information you need to sell that.
Yeah.
And getting rid of it and just trying to sell this big boss fight, which was fucking awesome. The fight scene was so cool. But, like, getting rid of information that gets to that, and you're like, why is Batman so fucking angry? Like, that's their fault, you know? But that information just gets, in comment sections, just gets saddled onto Zack Snyder not knowing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Which I think is the biggest misrepresentation of him and how big of a fan he is of that stuff. Listen to him talk about any of it, and he's like super hyper focused on all of the information. And I so much respect him for doing as much as he could before they tried to take it away from him, because it didn't do Marvel numbers.
And I feel like this movie in particular suffers a lot because of expectations, not only just of expectations of what you think these characters are gonna be, but expectations of what a comic book movie is.
Yeah, because everybody just wanted to have the villain beat by the end and we all go home.
Yeah. And
that's not what we get here.
That and, that we need a solo movie to set up the character, and then we could bring them together.
Well, so that was DC. That was DC answering the criticism of always needing origin films. And the last time we saw Batman in the DC on film was 4 years prior to this coming out. That was in Rises, which isn't that long at all. The last time there was a break between people playing Batman, it was like 10 years.
Yeah.
So when they do this movie, and this movie's also different in that in the MCU there's a timeline of things happening, moving to a big thing. And this movie was like the in-between of stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Right, this is stuff that's typically covered in a last time you saw them thing. Like, this is the in-between of two movies. Like, this could be between Captain America 1 and Winter Soldier. Like, all of this little stuff happening.
Yeah.
And it's the first time that I think anybody's tried to do something like that. Rather than give you a story that's open and shut from beginning to end, they tried to give you a movie that was like, here's what's happening a little bit after that, leading to a much larger thing soon. Yeah. And that's not something that typically happens. So there's no precedence for this. There's no comparable movie to this. Like, you can't, like, Civil War and this are not the same. Any of those Avengers movies, like the team-up movies, that's not what happened here. They were fighting each other and then realized they had to team up to do something bigger than themselves in this. I think a lot of times it gets lost, like that idea gets lost. Like, oh, that movie sucked, and it's like, but what was it about? Like, this was about getting Superman from where he was to where Zack Snyder ultimately wanted to go in the 2 Justice League films that he signed on for. That was the goal of this, was to get to the end of that second one. He was setting stuff up for the end of that, to pay all of that off, and they took it away from him because the reaction to this wasn't fucking sunshine and rainbows.
It's also a really dark movie.
It's
and not even just like the color palette, which a bunch of people have an issue with, which I certainly don't. I love the colors and everything in his movies and the way that he color graded and kind of desaturatized some stuff. But just from a story standpoint, this film is heavy. I mean, Lex is trying to show the world that Superman isn't as powerful, and what did he say? If one cannot be all powerful, then he cannot be all good. So that's why I think Lex's motivations made sense to me. He knew the entire time, and when I was watching this back, something dawned on me. Lex talks about his father almost as though he died in that initial Man of Steel attack, which would fuel his disdain for Superman. Even though I don't think that he got along with his father, but I think everything was dropped on him. I think he inherited the company because of that and doesn't know like what to do. Well, I'm going to try to take it in this fun thing with this basketball court, but at the same time, I'm also going to be smuggling in this piece of alien technology that could potentially kill Superman.
So I thought it was cool. I've never had an issue with Lex Luthor in this, theatrical or Ultimate Edition. I actually like him more in the Ultimate Edition because he gets, after he goes into the Kryptonian ship, he becomes like sinister. Yeah.
And I know a lot of people compared him to that.
That's definitely a criticism that I've heard before, and it's not wrong. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They kind of put him in like what seems to be a Loki role almost, where he's not necessarily he's the face of the big bad behind what's happening. Especially because like when he does the bell cannot be unrung thing, and like all the violins are going crazy at the end of the movie, which I think is such a awesome way to end it. But when he's doing that, like he seems like, because in the Kryptonian ship they gave him the information, like he asked for all of the information. So like he's somebody who's gotten too much knowledge now. So now he knows more than anybody else on Earth. Literally now. Like, and I think it's played with him towards the end of that movie a lot. Yeah. It's like once his head is shaved and he's in that cell, like he's completely unhinged at that point. And I like that because the characterization that we got of Lex Luthor before this was Superman Returns, and it was a classic portrayal of the character by Kevin Spacey. I don't know if anybody wants to mention his name, but and that was like a classic portrayal of the character. He was bald, the businessman, like that exact comic book. We've gotten that. So he wanted to take it a new direction, make the character younger. That way he has more longevity, and he's got old money now, and he's making new money, and then coming out of rebuilding Metropolis after Man of Steel, like he's probably benefited richly from that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
When they meet for the first time at the party as Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent, and Lex introduces them, I thought that scene was so funny because of the way that
he plays
it. And the knowledge, going back after like finding out like he was kind of pulling all the strings from the beginning, the knowledge of that, watching that scene back makes it so much more satisfying in my opinion.
Yeah, because he's almost in that scene trying to play them against each other already.
Yeah.
But just like a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like maybe if I get friction with their human forms, or however you want to word that.
Yeah,
like
their
maybe
alter egos.
Yeah, like their crowd facing faces. Like maybe we could start some friction there and it'll carry over when they both have their suits on. But Lex does. Bruce, Lex has gotten the information. He hasn't gone in the Kryptonian ship yet at that point, but he knows.
He's pieced it together.
Yeah.
And Bruce doesn't know, and Clark doesn't know, but Clark finds out when he hears Alfred through Bruce's earpiece. So that scene was fun.
So fucking awesome.
Let's talk more about Superman, because I feel like we haven't really touched on him yet.
I was gonna say, so it's hard to put your finger on it because he's not playing the character from Man of Steel necessarily in this. Like, he's not playing that Superman. So it's a Superman that's evolved slightly from what's happened already.
Yeah.
But we're not to a point where he's learned the thing yet. Like, we're in that middle area still. So it's got to be a difficult task for Henry Cavill to play. And then we talked about in the Man of Steel thing, like the Jesus allegory that was like not too secret in that movie. So in this, obviously, like we get the death of Superman, which people were strangely upset about getting this so soon, which is like a phrase I hate hearing in comic book movies, because as we found out, the next one's not promised regardless of what's happening, contracts or anything. None of that fucking matters. So nothing in comic book movies is ever too soon.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Think about this. Before they put Bane in Batman and Robin in 1997, that character was only introduced in 1992. Yeah. He only exists for 5 years. Was it too soon to put him on film? Some may say yes, because of the characterization of him. But they used the character.
Let's not talk about Batman and Robin on this
it's a
podcast.
Terrible fucking movie. Mm-hmm. Yep. No.
He didn't want any of the responsibility.
Nope. That's why he stayed hidden. Let them do it. Yeah. I do like the idea that he's never made like a proclamation about who he is or what he does, and it's literally in the movie just the media inflaming both ends of that, which is like Zack Snyder somehow wrote that in there, you know. And I thought that was such a great way to do that. Just let the media like push the narrative one way, and then they push it back the opposite direction. Like I enjoy that they do that with him, and they do it with Batman kind of, but he only gets bad press. This Bat vigilante, yeah, yeah. Mm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's the thing, because they would absolutely do that if Superman was real.
Well,
and
yeah.
we had an alien living on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
It would be debated about, and it would be on the news all the time.
But what does he want?
Yeah,
What
look
does
at
he
everything
want?
that's going on in the world currently with the coronavirus. The way that the media, like you said, is... Yeah. But I'm just saying, like... The media
right.
the media is going to play a role in something so large and such a historic event for mankind.
Yep, and that goes back to the quote from David S. Goyer from Man of Steel, where he was just like, we wanted to play it as if this was a real thing in real life right now. How would everybody react to it?
Yeah.
And this was a continuation of that.
And I think as far as Superman goes,
yeah,
like Joe said in the Man of Steel episode, he didn't really get another outing aside from Man of Steel to really just showcase that character.
Superman. Yep.
He was sharing the screen with Lois. He was sharing the screen with Ben Affleck.
We got a lot of Lois in this too.
We got a lot of stuff, and it's all new world building.
Yeah.
Because now everyone's question for Man of Steel was, well, where's everyone else? If everyone else exists in this, what are they doing? Why didn't they show up?
And
I
Bruce
feel
fucking did.
I feel like, though, they did a really good job of establishing where those characters are.
Mm-hmm.
And Superman was the grounding force for that.
Yep.
And it sucks that he was not able to take the Superman character and really showcase him more.
I agree.
So that's one of the biggest flaws that I have with this movie, is it feels less like a Superman film and more of pre-Justice
introducing
League,
a lot of other people.
Yeah, because you can't even say it's a Batman film because there's
it's like
other
shuffling.
shit.
It's like shuffling a deck of cards, but Superman's like all of these. So it's just like a lot of feeding other people into that story for him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that's why people were upset with it more than anything, was like it was not an open and shut story. Like, here's issue is resolved, credits roll.
Yeah.
Does not happen here in any fucking facet. Like,
Superman fucking dies at the end.
a lot of shit is opened up, nothing is answered, and they just left it open for fixing later on. Yeah. Yeah. It's like yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like an ongoing.
It
It's like
does
any
feel
ongoing book.
Yeah, for me it feels like the end of like a volume 2 or 3 in a graphic novel run. So like if some author and artist combination have issues 1 through 50, this is like 20 through 35. And you know, you showed up for the first part of it, which was all Superman. Now we're getting this stuff thrown into it. Come back for that last portion when we finally wrap it up, and then we get the artist and author out of here. And they decided to change those people for that last half, which clearly fuck up the early part of that book. You know, because you don't have the finish from the person that had the idea.
Yeah.
And that sucks. They didn't stick the landing with Justice League and meddling with this movie. We mentioned Lois Lane. She gets a lot of face time here. I think she is the V in Batman v Superman.
No.
No, it's the same. It's the same kind of style. The film essentially opens with her in Africa, in what is it, Nairobi or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not a woman, I'm a reporter, or whatever she says.
It made sense. And honestly, like, she might not have needed to be in any other scene.
No, but it was another way. That was a continuation from Man of Steel to show that Superman's going to save her no matter where she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much of her here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love Amy Adams. So, like, it just sucks because she's not written well. Yeah.
And a lot of people were mad about Jimmy Olsen being popped at the beginning for being a secret CIA agent, which I think is best case scenario for that character, I feel like. It's a digital time now.
Oh, yeah. Never mind. Yeah.
Right. But people legitimately are mad that they introduced and killed Jimmy Olsen in the first part of this. I swear to God, dude, I've argued with people in comment sections about it. And I'm like, what the fuck does Jimmy Olsen really mean to you that this movie sucks because they gave you Jimmy Olsen and then took him away? Because they didn't have to name him Jimmy Olsen. They could have named him Terrence fucking Williams. And you know what? They would have fucking killed him and the story would have moved on.
Yeah.
Nobody cares that it was fucking Jimmy Olsen. Just tying it up at the end. The Jimmy Olsen fucking cameo. Like, but people were legitimately mad.
That's the thing. They have Jenny basically in the role that they had for Jimmy. So, like, why is that? And she was featured in Man of Steel. So why is that, like...
They saved her, remember?
Are they... Yeah.
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 the Gotham City docs. Yeah. But that itself goes to show that there's no pleasing any amount of people, even a percentage of the time. Like, they gave you, like, he didn't have to name him Jimmy Olsen. That could have literally been any other person. Yeah. But they gave you Jimmy Olsen as like a, you know who that is from a comic book. Remember, we didn't just make up a character and then they fucking killed him because they needed that story to go away because we're moving on to bigger things and they don't involve a CIA involved fucking, like, none of that needed to happen. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
In history. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a good
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't cast two actors that caliber to be cameos at the beginning of that film. Zack Snyder wanted to put Jeffrey Dean Morgan in the Thomas Wayne suit. And just saying that, I get a fucking rock hard erection.
Well, if it lasts longer than 4 hours,
I will call somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did. Yeah, I loved, like, so we've mentioned the Flash thing a few times. My fucking mind was blown when that happened in the theater.
Yeah,
like, I felt like my brain split, my skin crawled, and it rolled down my face because I was like, oh my God, like, Flash is going back in time and contacting him about something, and he's like, am I too early? Which is so fucking funny.
I'm too early. Like,
he's wearing that suit, like that time traveling fucking oh my God. Like, even if nothing ever happened with Ezra Miller even playing that character, the fact that it happens there for just a second to me is like, what were they gonna do?
Yeah.
Holy fuck. And I keep saying that Flashpoint is like the most important thing in the DC universe right now for their film slate. It will fix everything as long as they do it right.
That's
but
their
I
get
have
out
no
of jail
fucking
free
confidence.
card.
Yeah,
but
I have no confidence
that
they're going to do it right. Yeah.
And that's the biggest obstacle with DC.
Including that scene in this was just like, and then that nightmare scene with Batman.
That threw me off so much when I watched that for the first time. But
yeah, because it's confusing because it's out of nowhere.
I love it.
Yeah, but like, just watch that scene, like, just from the beginning of it to the end of that little thing, which I think, does it end with the Flashpoint thing?
Yeah, he wakes up
or does
that.
But the Flash thing isn't part of a dream because the papers in the background are still fucking going like that, which I was like, it's real.
Yeah.
Piggybacking the nightmare and the Flashpoint thing is so fucking cool. Because it's just like a big hint as to what's to come, and also explains why Bruce has the insane fear that he does. He doesn't... The Lois Lane part doesn't get to play out in this yet, but now Bruce has some information. Like, that's something that a comic book Batman is going to, like, have on a sticky note on one of his computers. Just like, Lois Lane is the key, Flash.
Yeah.
Like, he knows that for a fact. He...
I thought that was a cool scene. It fucking made me jump.
Yeah. Yeah. When... I was like, why is the tomb bleeding? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So fucking cool.
Oh, I heard one, it was too scary. I heard one, why did they waste Man-Bat? Yeah.
But that's not even the guy. What?
Yeah, I don't know. And then I got another one.
Just because it's a bat the size of a man doesn't mean it's Man-Bat.
And then that was the part. That was also the part where I heard someone complain on Facebook that they couldn't tell when it was a dream and when it wasn't. And I was like, he woke up. That's how you know. Why is that difficult? The beginning of the movie, when it shows him fall into the thing and then float up, and then someone was complaining because they didn't know that it was a dream, but literally Bruce Wayne says, I was in a dream.
Yeah. It goes back to, it was Man of Steel, right? I don't know what people are doing in the theater. I don't like this movie. It doesn't explain anything. I'm going to complain about it. Yeah. Everybody lets the aggregate fucking score decide whether or not they like it before they've seen it. And that's bullshit. Because there's stuff on there that has like really good fucking ratings, and they're shit movies. So, I don't want to derail into my hatred of Rotten Tomatoes because of this movie.
Literally.
This is the reason I will not use that site. I don't give a fuck what it says about anything. If I see a sticker on a Blu-ray that says certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, I won't even fucking buy it. I don't want their sticker on any of my shit. They can go fuck themselves. I saw there's a sticker on the fucking Diamond Edition Blu-ray of Pinocchio. You know, the classic Disney film Pinocchio? There's a fucking certified fresh sticker on that from Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, yeah, nobody at Rotten Tomatoes needed to fucking put that sticker on there. It's a fucking seminal classic, you morons. If you needed to know what the aggregate score was of Pinocchio, go fuck yourself. How's that?
So not to derail, right, Robert? Let's talk about someone who we haven't talked about yet. Let's talk about Wonder Woman. First time seeing Gal Gadot.
She was stunning.
I love so much about what they did with that character in this film. I love the way that they introduce her. And she's got a reason to be there. She's after Lex. Mm-hmm. She does not give a shit about Superman or Bruce. She's there to get her shit and leave.
Yep.
And lo and behold, we see. Yeah.
I do think it was kind of annoying that she was watching the news when she was going through the files on the computer, which is like the most. To me, the most disjointed the Ultimate Edition is.
Yes.
Is when she's in a hotel in a robe or whatever, or fucking clicking buttons on a computer, watching these clips. But, like, because we don't need that, really, for any of this.
No.
Other than to tease forward what Justice League will have. That said, all of those clips are awesome. Every one of them. And they inform a little bit of who those characters are, which I think is important when you're not going to do an origin film for anybody, but you're going to have them team up. And then she decides to leave the plane to go help. Yeah. Like, that was the only part that I was just like, I don't need that because I want to see her just show up because she felt like she had to. I don't need to see her make the decision to do it. Like when the lady yells up the tunnel at her, like, Miss Prince, and you're like, okay, definitely Wonder Woman. Like, we knew it was, but to that point, like, they hadn't really explained who she was yet. Yeah. Right. So when she's, Miss Prince, where are you going? The plane is about to take off. And she just keeps walking like a badass. We don't necessarily need that part of it. But when Bruce is about to get fucking laser-eyed by Doomsday and she saves his ass, it's still one of the most goosebump-inducing moments I've ever watched in anything. Like, I watched it to record for this, and I was like, because I remembered what was going to happen, and I look at Amanda, and I was like, do you remember what's going to happen? And she was like, no, what? And then she fucking drops and blocks it with her super ancient shield or whatever, and that fucking theme song for her plays. And the hair just shoots up on my arm and on the back of my neck, because that song is so fucking good.
If anything, from this movie, we got that portrayal of Wonder Woman and that theme, because that theme is amazing.
Brilliant.
The soundtrack in this movie I thought was really good. Like the score, I thought it was fitting. Like Robert mentioned those violins before. And then the Wonder Woman
with Lex
theme.
And shit. Yeah.
I thought all the music with Batman was really good.
And it was super dramatic. Like the fight music was super dramatic. Yeah. When Clark goes up after he saves Lois and he goes up to go face to face with Lex, that like doo-doom, like super fucking dramatic. Like, you know that this is gonna be some shit. And then he does the whole witch thing with Martha.
Oh yeah.
Because she gave birth to a fucking monster or whatever. Like, that's like the coolest fucking, like, you know what we call the mother of whatever, a witch. Yeah. And like really triggers the fuck out of Clark with that.
Die by fire.
Which is in that, like, Clark is super invested in his mom. Yeah. Like, Bruce was super. That was the crypt that was bleeding that had the bat to the shape of a man come out. But so they were alluding to that happening the entire fucking time.
Yeah. But just to backtrack, what did you guys think of Wonder Woman in this movie for like her first appearance in this world?
So good, so fucking good. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Right. And when Bruce goes to try to get his device back that she lifted from the thing that Lex was throwing, the second time we see Wonder Woman in a fantastic gown, Bruce like found the information of where this thing was going to be, knew that she was going to be there, arrived without her knowing that he was there, and then like comes up behind her without her knowing. And then they both discuss that they know that the blade that they were looking at was a fake. And Bruce and her both agree on where the actual one is. Like, that to me is something that's definitely ripped straight from a fucking comic book.
And the best
like,
part
that felt so like true to both of those characters for me.
And the best part too about that scene was Bruce being like, I need my device back, and she's like, oh, I put it in the glove box of your car. And then she just dips out.
Right. Like, yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I love it, and it's faithful to those characters, because it does feel like a Bruce and Diana moment that they would have on the Justice League cartoon or in a book.
And it's just like a tease of like how they could be together, because that's something that like comic books kind of do. They kind of like let them play off of one another to see what that chemistry is like for those two characters. And in this, I mean, I wanted to see Bruce and Diana marry each other. Like, that's how cool I thought that was.
I really, just shifting gears a little bit, I really enjoyed the use of Zod and the ship, and part of Lex's plan, once he finds out and is able to experiment a little bit using Zod, he forms the monstrosity that becomes Doomsday.
Now, they allude to those creatures previously existing.
Yeah.
Like, and that's such a cool idea, and that's why when people were so mad about how Doomsday looked and what Doomsday did, it didn't really make any sense, because, like, he mutated.
Yeah.
He mutated as the fight was happening with all of the nuclear energy that they were trying to fight him with, and all of the bullets and all of... He was changing as it was happening. So it's like so possible that in the future there could be a Doomsday that looks closer to what the comic book was. But this Doomsday specifically was built off of Michael Shannon as Zod. So it had a very newborn face to it. Having sat in a hospital with a newborn for 3 straight days, I swear to God, I was gonna text you guys and go, dude, they really weren't that far off with what Doomsday looked like as a newborn, because it's kind of fucking accurate. His face is like swollen and weird, and like it kind of gets to where it needs to be as it's happening. But like the creature's design is terrifying, because they've made Michael Shannon's face into like a monster, and it was still learning what it could do. It didn't really know how to control itself. Like, such a fucking great character in this, I thought. I know people hated it. People hated having Doomsday in this too early and being created the way it was created and all this other shit. But I think it was such a great way to utilize what they already had existing.
Going from like Man of Steel and seeing that ship to going to being a major set piece for BVS was really cool.
And then that being where Steppenwolf eventually appears in the Ultimate Edition. With the 3 mother boxes. Like, that's fucking cool as hell.
Yeah. And apparently he's going to have the new design. He's going to have that design in his version of Justice League. So
rather than what we got.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't have any issues with the Doomsday thing, because we've already established the too soon thing. If it fits the story, it makes sense. So why not throw that in there? Because talking about the Jimmy Olsen stuff from the beginning, we're not getting Jimmy Olsen being best friends with this version of Superman.
No.
This version of Superman is very much about his mom and Lois and You're My World, and this is my core group of people.
How many times does he have to fucking reiterate that point, right?
Yeah. But, like...
And people still don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had Batman. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, like, and it's so cool how the death happened, because it's almost like Superman knew this is also going to hurt me an awful fucking lot when he picks up that spear that Batman had fashioned into a kryptonite blade to harm Superman himself. So Superman picks that up after way too long of watching Lois Lane fucking fight with that thing. Ugh. He flies to his ultimate doom. Like, he stabs Doomsday, but Wonder Woman had just lopped off Doomsday's hand, and you watch him mutate as he forms a spear, and then he plunges it through Superman's chest. And I remember being in the theater like, you know,
because the whole movie you don't see him that weak.
No, but not even that, but like the realization that they're doing Death of Superman, like you can't even fathom that they're doing Death of Superman. Holy fuck. But like, I liked that, you know, I liked that Batman and Wonder Woman and fucking Lois Lane, with all of their powers combined, couldn't save him. You know,
and that eventually inspires Bruce.
Exactly. That's the thing that takes Batman from, what is the quote from Alfred that Jeremy Irons fucking delivers so wonderfully with that's how it starts. The fear, the anger,
the
like it takes Bruce from that and makes Bruce hopeful.
Yeah. So like, from a story perspective, I think it made sense. It fit the story to kill Superman in the end. But,
and Lex ultimately gets what he wants one way or the other.
Yeah.
Because if man won't kill God, the devil will do it. That he delivered all fucking kooky and shit.
Let's talk about Jeremy Irons, because I loved him as Alfred.
Fucking unbelievable Alfred.
He's the first time I've ever believed Alfred was ever like this black ops military, like someone who could actually help Batman in a fight, or like with strategy or something like that. Like, he actually felt like a partner.
This is the first time I ever believed Alfred is mechanically capable.
Yeah.
Because, like, I believe that guy could be fixing devices and gadgets and putting shit together.
Yeah.
Previous incarnations of Alfred never scratched that surface.
He could make a sandwich.
A mean sandwich and a spotted tea, dude. Killer.
But this Alfred looks like he could kick your ass, and he's an asshole to Bruce throughout this whole fucking movie. And I loved that. Because Bruce needed to be kept in check, and Alfred was the one to be like, dude, you're being a dickhead.
Dude, when they're fucking yelling at each other in the Batcave.
He's so passive-aggressive with him throughout this whole film, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was such a great scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a it was such a great scene in the Batcave where Alfred's kind of trying to make the case for like not fighting Superman. Like, you don't know what he's capable of. Are you crazy? And Batman's like, if there's even a fraction of a chance. Like, such a great fucking moment between the two of them. That didn't have anything to do with Batman faking his death or, you know, any other thing that other films have done. Yeah.
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 Yeah, no, that's true. You could probably get away with saying he might have operated in that capacity for Bruce's parents. But since, like, Bruce doesn't give a fuck about Wayne Manor, which I thought was awesome, maybe Alfred can't operate in that capacity. You know, because there's no, like, upkeep to happen in his floor-to-ceiling plate glass window lake house.
Well, it feels like after a certain point, Bruce is just becoming Batman. Like, he's he's living in the cave, you know, like, he's at the lake house, sure, sometimes, but for the most part,
and that's primarily where we see Alfred is in the cave. Like, he's not even in the fucking house. Like, he's just in the cave all the time, which I think is such a cool, like, they just abandon all of that after 20 years and we primarily operate this way now, and that's it.
We've always been vigilantes, Alfred. We've always been criminals. You know, like...
I do miss the days of, what the fuck did he say about the giant rubber ducks with the penguin or something?
Yeah.
So fucking cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Into the... Oh!
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like fucking drinking scotch the entire time. Which is cool as fuck. And they, Zack Snyder has recently confirmed that the Robin whose suit is in that case was in fact Dick Grayson in this universe. So Dick Grayson was Robin and has since deceased. Clearly, we find out in the future Harley Quinn has something to do with the death of Robin. So that might not have even been a Joker reference necessarily, but it could have been Harley Quinn spray painting that.
So actually, it was the Joker, because
she was an accessory. It said in Birds of Prey.
So for Suicide Squad, David Ayer said that text was added by the production company who did the edit, and it wasn't in the original script. So he said Harley didn't have anything to do with it.
Okay.
But she's just an accessory to the Joker. And I read that's why Batman broke Joker's teeth, because Joker killed Robin. Mm-hmm. And that's why Joker has the grill.
I want to watch that scene. For as much as I don't like Jared Leto's portrayal of the Joker, I want to watch Ben Affleck as Batman bust his fucking ass just to see it. Yeah. Because it'll be fucking amazing.
Yeah. But, so that's, who knows as far as what the actual plan was.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Todd.
Right.
Yeah.
I knew Paul was going to use that as a wedge issue to get into hating the Bat family.
There's a lot of characters.
It's way too many people. No, I agree.
But no, that's a good point, because if he lost someone close to him, he wouldn't do it again. Guilt would weigh on him, and he wouldn't take another person on. At least I do remember, not like at first.
Yeah. I do remember hearing or reading that Zack Snyder intended to have Carrie Kelly in some form be Robin. So skip all of those other ones and then go right to the one from The Dark Knight Returns, which this was obviously largely based on. I don't think it was necessarily set for being in this movie, but like his future idea for Batman was to take her on as help.
Yeah.
Red Robin.
Yeah. Batwing.
Nightwing. Yeah. What else was I going to say? So we've talked about basically all of the characters that we've hit, but like the action sequences in this, which are some of Zack Snyder's, that's his wheelhouse, is those action sequences. And Paul, you referenced the warehouse fight earlier, which I think, even though to me, my favorite Batman movie is Returns. The most Batman movie to me is Begins. But that scene is the complete, like, if anybody was like, what's Batman? I'm playing you the warehouse scene. From the beginning of it, where he jumps through those windows, to the wrap up of grabbing that guy through the wall. That to me is Batman.
Yeah.
Just in that like 6 to 10 minute clip, like unfucking believable work that they did in that. Great. I've never been a person that had any issue with Batman incidentally killing people. Oh, dude, there's a body count for every movie, Batman being directly responsible for the deaths of people due to whether it's his negligence in protecting what's happening around him, or throwing people into things, or throwing vehicles, or attaching cars to the back of your fucking Batmobile and just dragging them for 25 minutes. Like, yeah, like, yeah, because you don't have to kill in the comic books, or you don't need to see what incidentally happens in the comic books. But coming out of a movie like Man of Steel, where everybody was talking about Superman's death toll being fucking 1,000 times 9/11 or whatever, like, having Batman then turn around in this movie and killing rub people the wrong way. But everything about this movie, in one facet or another, pissed some group of people off.
Yeah. So
it doesn't matter. Because if Batman was super careful and protecting people from dying and shit like he were Spider-Man, people would have been like, why does he care? Yeah. Like, it would have, no matter what, either side of the coin, he would have gotten shit for it. So it doesn't matter. Right. Yep. Yes. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
like
that one dude's
neck.
Fine.
That one dude's neck, he definitely broke, but like, he might not be dead. Just paralyzed from the neck down. Yeah. You know.
It's just that Pete Holmes. It's just that Pete Holmes.
It's all that stuff. It's all that magic that Batman learned from Zatara, where he just puts people to sleep with some. Yeah, he's asleep. But the warehouse scene is so cool, and I think other than him busting through the floor and nobody notices, to like be able to do the Arkham style pick 'em up shit, which is just like, I can't believe they put that in the fucking, like, it's so exciting to see that on film. Yeah. My favorite part is when that guy stabs him in the shoulder on the ground, and he takes that guy out. He takes the guy out by his foot with his right leg, and then with the same leg knees the guy behind him in the face
and pulls the knife out.
Yeah, like the fact that he kicks that one dude off and then uses the leverage and momentum from that leg forward over his shoulder to kick that guy in the face with it. Like, so every time I watch it, I'm like, how the fuck, dude? That's so awesome. So cool. Because, like, when you get super micro about, like, action sequences because of films like John Wick, because we live in a post-John Wick action film world now, when you see that level of detail in, like, okay, so he's going to do that, and then he's going to use that to get, like, the fight sequencing in that warehouse is fucking unbelievable. Yeah. all the time. Yeah. Like, I'm so willing to, completely throw out Bruce Wayne in the Batcave. Fucking get rid of it. I want to watch him fight people. That's what I'm here for.
That's true. Joe, what were you going to say about this scene? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he pulls the grapple on the gun, so it starts pulling him, and he swings it, and then lets it go. So
Yeah. Yeah. That part of it is always like weird. Yeah, but that part of it's always weird.
yeah,
No, I think it was just it's more the power of that armored suit that you're getting on display there. And there I mean obviously there's no like explanation for any of that happening. It's not like, "Oh, well you see the actuator in Batman's tricep actually
but you don't
allows
need
him
it.
to, like there's none of that."
You don't need it.
Yeah. It's just two fucking monsters beating the shit out of each other for 10 minutes. Yeah. And more and more and more. Shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like he just stopped giving a shit.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
But wasn't there I don't remember what the specific wording was, but there was they definitely like spoke about what the brand meant in jail as they were transitioning from one scene to the other. Like that guy gets brought in and then the other guy I think in the wheelchair is like leaving jail.
Well,
So they mentioned the brand thing.
well,
But I don't Right.
yeah.
Right.
And plus that criminal was transferred from Gotham to Metropolis, which led
Right.
to him getting killed.
Right.
If he was in Gotham, he would have been fine, but because Lex pulled the strings to get him transferred, that
Right.
added fuel to Clark's disdain for Batman.
Yeah, because Clark is going, you fucking damn these
Yeah.
people by doing that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that because he's getting to like seeing how the two of them operate in this movie is the closest so far we've gotten to what we know Superman to be, Big Blue Boy Scout, and what we know Batman to be, any means necessary. Like that's the closest. This is the closest we've ever seen those two characters, obviously together, but like in any facet of them foiling one another. Yeah.
Yeah. Deduce things.
It's I think that is the most neglected part of Batman in every incarnation of him on film, going back to 89 through
Yeah. Zany stuff. But yeah, no, I agree with
every
you.
villain mechanism has the name on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Batman ooze killing spray machine. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
I just think it's the hardest thing. Yeah.
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 I think it's the hardest thing to translate to film is to get that investigative without boring people, because people will complain that nothing happens.
And it also has to do with tone of the film, and the film was not like a mystery thriller type thing, which I feel like the character would work well in that kind of.
Yeah.
But it sucks because now we're sharing screen time with Superman and Lois Lane, and it wasn't just a straight up Batman movie, and I feel like a lot of people were expecting it to be, when it's not. And it's not necessarily anyone's movie.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing about this, because it's not a solo story, and it's not a team up.
It's somewhere in between.
Yeah, it's not an origin story.
Yeah. That's why I said it's just this weird middle spot that hasn't really been done before, and people probably won't let anybody do it ever again, but
yeah.
I don't know if that's justified or not, because we got a lot of cool information out of this. The Batmobile scene that I mentioned earlier, where he's pulling that car, some of the fucking coolest Batmobile shit we've ever seen on film. They just let it happen. He wasn't in some paramilitary thing jumping from rooftop to rooftop. This fucking Batmobile is legit, and it's got machine guns and
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just designed a Batmobile that functions for that character.
Yeah.
And I think that it was perfect in that regard. I love how it looks. Because it fits that world so well.
The Tumblr, right?
No.
Snyder's.
This one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, the Tumblr, obviously, I think, that fit that character perfectly well, too. And the backstory of that machine and, all that stuff, really fucking executed well in the Dark Knight trilogy. But like Paul said, coming out of that, how do you do that again? You don't do that again.
Yeah.
You go to a roots thing, and you kind of pull what you want from everything else that's existed previous to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it jumps through waterfalls and shit, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. Explain it. Right. Grounded. Nope. Mm-hmm. Just because if you want that, you could go watch it. It's there. I mean, so obviously their fight that we mentioned a little bit ago, the actual fight between Batman and Superman. Some of the craziest fucking Batman pulling out every, like, he didn't show up there unprepared. He had like 7 booby traps set up, and everything was like he knew where the fight was gonna wind up and how this was gonna go. He knew he was gonna get rocked in the fucking face a few times. Luckily, he was able to weaken Clark with those kryptonite grenades, which I thought was such a fucking cool concept.
When he shot it and he caught the one,
you knew he knew he was gonna catch it because he's super fast. Like, he knew that, but then he caught it and he was like, "Gotcha," because it fucking sprayed it in his face. Like, and then you see Clark inhale it and then suddenly be like, perfect.
Yeah.
So fucking perfect. No, he didn't even know it existed. He didn't even know it existed, which is why it's such a fuck you. Because he showed up there so blind because of Lex, dude. Yeah. He showed up there so blind and unprepared. Right. Right. Because Lex was clearly picking a winner in that fight.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted Bruce to have all of the time in the world because he knew if he had just enough time, he might be able to kill him. Or Clark overcomes all that and kills Bruce. He did not expect the two of them to stop fighting for any reason.
Yeah.
And I just love how that whole scene transpired. And then obviously you get to the end of it. The only thing anybody ever talks about out of that movie is the Martha scene. Yeah. Right. Right. Or
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was. That Omega symbol was in there.
Like,
so,
right.
So, my opinion on the nightmare scene is I don't think it was a dream necessarily that he was having, but I think
it was a
he
vision.
Equated it to a dream because I think it was
right.
Flash trying to show him somehow.
Okay.
This is your potential future.
Right.
But he was too early.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No shit. That's even fucking cooler, dude.
Yeah, because I never thought it was a dream necessarily.
No, I never thought it was a dream. I just think that's what Bruce chalked it up to.
Yeah.
Being.
Yes.
Just like I have these crazy fucking dreams. Sometimes I levitate as a child. Sometimes a giant-sized bat comes out of my mom's fucking crypt. Sometimes I see this future where there's this big Omega symbol for reasons I don't understand yet. It's a long commercial for fucking drugs.
All he took from that, though, was Superman's evil.
Right.
That's it. You took my world.
Right.
You know? And so clearly Lois has something to do with that. But I was also thinking, what if he's talking about Martha in that? every boy's mother is their world, is what Lex said.
Yep.
So that's just one way to look at it. Like,
he did. I mean, they alluded to the moms the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think in that moment, more than anything, the negative reaction to that scene is people who've been reading comic books for 50 plus years, some less, some more, never realizing that their moms are named the same thing and being mad that Zack Snyder found it out first.
I was literally sitting in the theater and I went, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's their names.
I was like, holy fuck, dude. Their moms are named the same thing.
Yeah.
How has nobody ever mentioned that before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's traumatized. And it was his father's last words. He was on the verge of betraying everything that character represents as far as actually taking a life. Even
further than that, he's been studying Superman. He didn't realize that Superman might have done background on him.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know that name? Do you know who the fuck I am? Like, that kind of thing. Right. Yeah. So Batman's like, just take that from the perspective of like the most paranoid guy on the planet.
And I also
fighting hand to hand an alien that he's never done that with before. And then it says your mom's name and you're like, how?
But also couple it with the fact that it humanized Superman too for him. In his eyes the whole time he's like, he's an alien, he's an alien. Oh, he's got like a mom. I had a mom. And they're both Martha.
Yeah. Right. Well, because he says to Superman in what is probably the worst line in the movie, "No Marthas will die tonight." Yeah.
Yeah.
He says
it was bad. It was so cringy.
So, like, there is plenty of criticism that you could actually hold accountable.
Yes.
But to laugh at the initial interaction without ever caring to pull any of the threads that they had been weaving together since the beginning of the movie annoys the fuck out of me. That that's like the thing that movie is known for, is that scene.
Yeah.
+20. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And her mom's name is Martha Isley. Yeah.
We don't know his limits.
Yeah. Hmm. Right.
If someone says your mother's name, you immediately think of your mother. And if something traumatic happened to you, that you base an entire portion of your life around two people, and they mention one of their names, you're gonna have a reaction.
Yeah. Why did you say that name? That's Joe's immediate reaction.
Any final thoughts on BVS? I feel like we gotta wrap it up now. I would love to talk about this movie some more, but
oh yeah, forever. Logos for everybody.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like, it's the right.
Yeah.
Which is all the more confusing. But yeah, I don't know what the fuck Lex's plan was with that.
Yeah. I think he was looking into them because of
He
the
was
Superman
researching
thing.
metahumans.
Yeah. And I think Superman was the first step. Oh, well, I got a weapon against him, but we're going to need weapons against these other people. Like, I think that was his original plan, was to, like, go into creating weapons for the government
to stop
kill metahumans.
other right.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. And that would explain why there is no bat file.
And that explains why the Suicide Squad is born after this.
Yeah.
Because that was the plan.
But no, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that goes back to the point of saying how that scene felt so disjointed. If it was just a screen with random file names and she would double click into one, I don't think people would have as much of an issue. But the fact that she opened up a file and there's folders with like the Wonder Woman logo and stuff.
I think it also could be Lex seeks out Batman to try to kill Superman. And let's just say Superman kills Batman. Lex has 3 other potential people to go to battle Superman next if necessary. Which might be why he actually is putting that together.
Interesting.
Because there's no other information about Wonder Woman other than her going to the ATM like 3 times and that picture.
Yeah.
So he would have to then do research from 1918 or whatever year that was about what happened where that photo was taken. And then you have what happens with Cyborg. And then you have actually 4. Flash, and then you have Aquaman. So like... And I remember it leading up to this movie, all of the stuff about where everybody was finding the kryptonite was supposed to be like the allusion to Aquaman being in the movie because water. But I think that those files probably exist in Lex's personal computer situation as next up if needed.
Yeah.
Against Superman, because he's just going to start. It seemed like he just wanted to fire metahumans at Superman until one of them fucking took him down.
But what else? Any other final thoughts on the movie?
I liked in the Ultimate Edition when Batman went to go collect the kryptonite because he was done fucking playing games. They show on the security footage, because it's not in the theatrical cut, the security footage of Batman dropping down and picking up that guard. Like, it's super quick. What he can do or how he did it. Because it's so fucking badass to me that Lex goes back to LexCorp and all these ambulances and shit are there, and he's like, the door's fucking broken, and he's walking through, and you're kind of just watching his reactions to everything. Shit's just broken and destroyed.
There's bullets
and then he
everywhere.
gets to that fucking case that he had it in, and there's just a batarang in it. Like, fuck. So fucking cool. And then to, like, why they cut out the 5 seconds it took to show that security footage, I'll never understand. because it's just another thing, like Paul said, of like, how does he do it? Because his eyes were lit up. Yeah. So like, was he in some sort of like night vision scenario or like whatever? Like, we have no idea. Like detective mode or whatever the fuck from the Arkham games or some shit. Like, that's cool as shit to think about.
Yeah.
So cutting that really did a disservice to people watching that movie. Right. Yeah. At all. You're just like, oh, he's a dude. Yeah. Because you're like, fuck, dude. Yeah. I also, we didn't really mention their costumes, but the bat suit in this movie might be my favorite of all time.
So I was going to say that, actually.
Fucking love the look of it.
Part of my final wrap-up is going to say, like, Ben Affleck's portrayal of Batman pushed this movie over the top for me.
Absolutely.
I love the way that they shot all of his action scenes, the way that they portrayed the costume. I love. Yeah. It's my favorite in any live-action adaptation. Mm-hmm. It just... Overall thoughts, I think the movie was great, and I think it pairs really well with Man of Steel. Mm-hmm. I understand most of the criticisms, but if you haven't seen the Ultimate Edition of this film, if you've only seen this movie in the theater one time and you didn't like it, give the Ultimate Edition at least a view and watch it after watching Man of Steel. Because I feel like if you like took a little break in between those two films, it pairs so much better back to back than it does with any amount of time in between them.
I agree with everything Jordan just said.
Joe?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fair.
Well, they heard the bells, and the bells cannot be unrung.
So, anyway, this has
We didn't mention anything about Granny's sweet peach tea or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, we don't need to. That was a really fucked up moment, though. The way that they played that. But regardless,
piss in a mason jar.
Let us know what you think about Granny's sweet tea. You could always hit us up on social media at Pop Kannon. Don't forget the K. It stands for ketamine.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know.
All right. Because that would make way too much sense, Joe.
Too much sense.
It stands for ketamine, and we stand behind that.
So, yes, follow us, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Pop Kannon. You could always subscribe on YouTube and follow us on whatever podcast platforms you listen to. Yeah. If you would like, you could follow us individually for whatever reason. You could find me on Twitter and Instagram at JL24FPS.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Yesball.
All right, so this has been BVS Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition. My name is Martha.
My name is Martha.
I'm Jordan.
I'm Robert.
Thanks for listening and watching. Stay tuned very, very soon for more content coming your way from your boys at Pop Kannon.